Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, I'm going to give an update on my Uzuri deck list that I'm thinking about taking to the Calling Dallas, depending on how obviously the Bright Lights heroes shape out. But right now, I think this is my pick, and I'm just messing with the list. So I kind of wanted to share it and see what my progress is so far. It's definitely a V1 version, but I think it's solid enough now to where I'm comfortable talking about it. And then as iterations unfold, I'll kind of talk about it. But it's definitely a lot different, as you can see by the thumbnail. It's a little bit more tempo-based. It's a little bit more fun, not your traditional Uzuri list. But yeah, we'll get right into it. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hopefully you enjoy your stay. Feel free to check out my other videos. I do a lot of Flesh and Blood content as well as Alpha Clash content. If you're a long-standing supporter, thank you so much as always. Feel free to check out the Patreon and the Discord down below. So this is a different list. Uzuri is in an interesting spot right now where she's good in Alexi, and obviously Lexi's going to be exiting soon. And she has some struggles, obviously, with heroes like Dromai and Icelander. I don't think either matchup is an auto loss, but it's definitely not favored, especially into competent players, right? So the thought is once Lexi leaves the format, she might not be as good. She can combat aggro a little bit, but it's honestly like 50-50. It depends on how the lists are shaped. So I really want to play her, though, because, frankly, right now, Uzuri is kind of the most fun hero for me to play, and I'm trying to pick a deck for the Calling Dallas, and I'm going to definitely try out the Bright Lights here. Like, I'm really interested in Max. I think that he would be really cool. I'm also interested in Tech Levosson, so we'll see how he is. But overall, right now, this is my list. So my thought was I want to play Uzuri, but I don't want to be an auto loss in a Dromai, right? I'm not a, crazy good player like some of these people are, where they just can think of every little thing. And I originally was on a fatigue Uzuri list with a lot of contracts, just basically like an Arachne list with Uzuri as the face. And what I was noticing was in the Dromai matchup, you just have really bad agency, right? Like you're basically relying on poppers. You're not using action point economy. Even when you have stuff like looking for scrap and, hurl and things like that, you still cannot clean up fast enough or apply enough pressure, and eventually a competent Dromai is just going to be really calculated and take their time, set up a board state, and beat you. So I needed to find a way to keep the power level of Uzuri, but also at least have a little bit more agency in the Dromai matchup, and also give people something different to think about, because Uzuri does have an element of surprise where she has, you don't know what she's going to flip into. If she plays an isolate, is it going to be a leave no witness? Is it going to be a shakedown, a CNC? Is it a bluff, right? Like there is an element of surprise, but calling a spade, her damage is capped, right? It's going to be 6, and if you don't get isolated and you have a way to de-react, you can really play around her very, very easily. Not very easily, but more easily, especially at a high level with good players. So I wanted to kind of create a tempo-based list that had more go again, more action point economy, and was able to kind of be flexible, but also apply a lot of pressure, to be completely honest with you. This is more of a tempo-based list. It can turtle up when it needs to, and I'll talk about that in a second. But before we get into every individual card, I've played like 16 games on this iteration of the list. I'm 13-3. Again, just casual Talishar testing, but that's really all I can do right now. But I'm really enjoying it. I'm doing pretty good with it, and the core concept is a couple things. One, utilize 4-card hands better, right? Being able to play out certain lines where you can use all 4 cards efficiently when your opponent loses tempo, or 3 cards, and be able to really push damage, right? Being able to do lines like hurl into, tunic into playing mischievous meeps, threatening draw card, right? And then you play nimblism into leave no witnesses, right? So I just dealt 5 damage threatening draw card. They maybe block the meeps, and then all of a sudden I'm dealing with 7 damage leave no witness, right? I've also had turns where, I've pitched a blue to Spider's Bite. I play mischievous meeps, and then I go into another go again attack like Rabble, and then all of a sudden, I have 1 card left in hand or 1 card in arsenal, 1 card in hand, and I do isolate into CNC. Like what I'm trying to do is basically deal 6 to 9 damage up front with go again attacks this is on a full hand, and then be able to come in with a good on hit at the end, right? So I basically tell my opponent either A, you're going to block the first 6 damage, but then get threatened with a good on hit. You're going to take the 6 damage so you can block the on hit, or you're going to try to like have and have it, right? It's a similar like thing to like how Dromai does it, where good Dromais will make you pick between killing dragons, threatening their life total, or blocking, right? This is similar to this. I'm gonna make you pick between taking early damage so you know you can block late on hits, trying to chip both of them away and slightly block, or block the early damage and just hope I don't have it on hit. I'm trying to make you do like that similar play style. So that's kind of a big thing. Other big lines, I also use contract cards and stuff like Cut to the Chase to really like push a lot of damage late. So being able to do like, an Annihilate the Armed off Nimblism for 8, snap it, and then play like, Leave No Witnesses into a Cut the Chase. I've had a lot of turns in the 16 games I've played where I've dealt 15, 16, 17 damage pretty easily. When it goes to the sideboard, I have even bigger than that, which I play into a lot of the aggro matchups. Any matchup where I need to keep tempo is really good. I literally was playing a Dromai today where I pitched a blue. I had even bigger than that in Arsenal. I pitched a blue, played a dagger. They let it hit because no one ever blocks those most of the time. Played even bigger than that, drew into a Leave No Witness, got a Quicken token. I then played Nimblism into a 7-power Leave No Witness, right? So that's, I had Tunic up, and then my last card was Command and Conquer. So I literally played out a 14 damage hand, threatening their arsenal twice, and ending with the Command and Conquer. So it allows you to just keep really good tempo and have really good pivot turns where you can deal 10 plus, 14 plus damage with Uzuri with multiple on hits. Some other key cards. I am running a bunch of contract cards. Annihilate the Armed. This will turn into Already Dead once it comes out, like immediately. I'm running Annihilate the Arm because I want to keep the feeling of how it's going to be to have another contract card. This doesn't have as much synergy with Nimblism, so that is something to keep in mind, but it's still really good. Cut to the Chase. This card's just so good. It's so good in this style of list because I am running 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, technically 18 targets into it, so it's definitely hits very consistently. I'm only running a 1-of Death Touch. I either want to get this in Arsenal and play it off like Nimblism, or play it from Arsenal. I want to flip into it, or I want to block with it early and then have it as a Codex target, right? But having multiple of these just clunks your hand up, so I really don't have it. And then I have like my Go Again package in the main board, so I have Give and Take. It's just a good 1-for-3 Go Again that also allows me to cycle power cards back onto my deck if they try to block it with something that's not a defense reaction. Hurl's just a good 0-for-3, really keeps tempo into the deck. And the Mischievous Meeps. So people might laugh at this one. I saw the Uzuri chat actually talking about it, which sparked me to make this video because I saw Mara Faris and a couple of noble Uzuris kind of like arguing to and for this card, or for and against this card. I love this card. This card has so many good things about it. One, it's almost an automatic block, and in Uzuri, that's a good thing, right? Like I said, being able to like pitch a blue and dagger, play Mischievous Meeps, force out their block early, and then you go into like an isolate into CNC. So I just made you block with a card, and now I'm going to threaten your arsenal after you're only on a 3-card hand. This card, it's not that you want them to block it, but you do want them to block it because you're forcing the really good play pattern of this is forcing cards out of their hand early in the chain, so then you can hit with a significant on hit late in the chain, right? So I really will use this almost as like a feint of like, hey, if you block this, sure, you can go down to 3 cards in hand, but then I'm going to hit you with a CNC, or I'm going to hit you with a Leave No Witness, or I'm going to hit you with a Shakedown, and be able to really like punish you. And then after that happens like once or twice, they sometimes will even just let this hit because they're like, I don't know what you're coming with next, and I don't want to waste a card on Mischievous Meeps when you could hit me for CNC, especially when you're talking about heroes like Lexi and Katsu and all these other ones that don't want to get hit with Disruption. It really puts them in a bind, and it's in a really good spot. So that's a big thing. Nimblism, I put this in the deck as a late edition, and I'm so glad I put it back in. It's so good late game. Being able to force that 7 break point with an on-hit like Leave No Witness or with Plunder the Poor is just really good. And then also coupling it with like Mischievous Meeps, so it comes in for 5 on-hit draw card. Like it's like literally a 5-powered snatch. Really, really nice. Love it. And then the only stealth cards I have in the deck are Isolate, I have 6 isolates, and I basically just use these to close games out, right? This is meant, I usually try to find one of these and I'll arsenal it. It's one of my big arsenal targets, and I'll just wait until I get like a CNC or a shakedown usually, and then when it comes back in, already dead or death touch. So I'll basically arsenal one of these targets and then wait for one of my big power cards in order to do a good flip turn. So that's really what I'm trying to do with that. Warmonger's Diplomacy and Surgical Distraction are pretty obvious, right? And then we have the sideboard. So I have 55 cards in the main board. So I do go a little over 60 pretty much every matchup, like 60, 61. Into matchups where I need more gas, I do the aggro package, which is Ravenous Rabble and even bigger than that. So against Lexi, actually I'll hedge in Frailty Traps too. But against Lexi, I'll definitely put it like Rabble in even bigger than that. Against the Ninjas, I'll put in Rabble even bigger than that. Against Bolton, Bolton's different because I actually don't want to have 2 blocks. But basically any matchup where I think I need more tempo and I need to keep applying pressure and I can't really rely on playing a mid-range game, I put in the aggro package. For more defensive stuff like Bravo, even though Bravo I go a little bit above 60 anyway, but for like Bravo, who else is a big one that I have played so far? Like Bravo, even Vincent, because I want to be able to block her break points is a big one. I'll usually put in the defense reactions. It's actually not as much as you would think. Levia, I usually do a little bit. But I really try to put in defense reactions just so I can make sure I can block those breakpoint attacks. But most of the time I'm putting in this aggro package. The Frailty Traps are mainly for Ninjas and Lexi. Even when Lexi leaves the format, I'll probably keep these in just because Katsu and Phi will be way more prevalent. We have AB2 right now just because of Icelander and Kano, just to have it. And then finally Remembrance for like the really fatiguing matchups like Bravo specifically, because Bravo is really big. And I usually put one of these in against Dromai just in case to maybe cycle some poppers back in. But against the Dromai match, I've only played Dromai once on this iteration of the list, was today. I ended up winning that game. It was really, really good. I ended up winning 14-0 in the game. I drew really well, but this kind of list just allows you to apply more pressure. Using stuff like Snapdragon Scalers also to have some pretty crazy lines where, like, again, you're doing 14, 15 damage. I've had several turns where I've just kind of gone off, so to speak. I've had turns where, like, I played Death Touch from Arsenal off Tunic for 6, snapped it, then played something like Hurl, pitched a blue, played Mischievous Meeps, right, have 1 card left in hand, and then played, like, Leave No Witness. Just, like, weird, like, out of nowhere, 12 to 15 damage lines with multiple on hits. Like, that's just a random line, but stuff like that is very, very common with this build. My 1 key cards I'm looking at are Plunder the Poor and Slay the Scholars. I really like them because they're 0 for 4 breakpoints that have good synergy with Nimblism. I don't see myself changing them, but I could if I wanted to go even more tempo based. But yeah, the main purpose is to be able to utilize 2 and 3 card hands. One of your thoughts, it might not block as well, but it really does. It blocks just as fine. I mean, right now on the main board, there's only 1, 4, 7, 10, 13, 2 blocks. So it's a little bit, but like maybe 1, 2 block per hand for the most part. If you put the Rabbles in, you basically have like 15, 2 blocks, so like 1, 2 block per hand. But it doesn't really matter as much because you can still play a pretty solid mid-range game because of it. So I'm really enjoying the list. Like I said, it's just casual Talishar testing, but the list is doing pretty decent. Nothing too crazy, but I'm going to keep iterating this because I think if you want to play Uzuri into this meta, I personally think this is probably the more solid way of doing it. Is definitely early, beginnings with it. But I would love your thoughts on it, and I love your thoughts from the Uzuri and Assassin community. It'd be really cool to kind of get your takes on it, because I know there's definitely some differentiating opinions on Uzuri and how she should be played. I just felt like the casual swap fatigue plan was kind of getting old in the terms of people were starting to figure out how to play against it and be able to side into it. So because of that, I wanted to have something where I have a little bit more agency into a lot of these matchups. But this is the basis of it. I'm gonna definitely try to do some gameplays or streams of it. So be sure to check that out. But yeah. This list will just do 14, 15 damage out of nowhere pretty easily with multiple on hits. And Mischievous Meeps is a great card. I would not take this out of the list personally. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. Agree, disagree, totally fine. Would love to hear your thoughts as a community. Definitely try this list out. This list takes a little bit of getting used to, so please do not just like play a game or two and you're like, oh, I lost. This guild list sucks. Definitely give it a few tries. Let me know what your thoughts are. And yeah, thank y'all so much for tuning in, and I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Thank y'all.